My name Edmund Yakani, Executive Director of CEPO. I would like to take this opportunity to strongly condemn the statement expressed by the Chief of Staff for Ugandan Armed Forces or Ugandan People's Defense Forces, known as UPDF, following the clash where the UPDF attacked South Sudan People's Defense Forces, known as SSPDF, at the area of Bori in Kajukeji County of Central Equatorial State in the Republic of South Sudan, which is not first of its kind. This is more than the 5th time where Ugandans are attacking on South Sudan People's Defense Forces or South Sudan Army at the point of Bori. We know there's a policy direction of intimidating, harassing our citizens in Bori Boma, or it is an interest that Uganda have an interest of annexing Bori to be part of Uganda through these unlawful acts that the Ugandan People Defense Forces repeatedly is doing against our population or against our citizens in East African community. The statement made by the Chief of Staff for Ugandan People's Defense Forces is in violation of the spirit for the establishment of the East African community. No army in East African community is qualified to be described as a mighty army that have the power and the authority to bully, to commit atrocities against citizens of any member state of East African community, or commit human rights violations, and they feel the human rights violations they're committing is lawfully against citizens of East African community. Any atrocities by any member of East African community against citizens of any member of East African community by itself is a violation of the principal foundation for the establishment of the East African community. Therefore, we are calling upon the Chief of the Staff for Ugandan People's Defense Forces to withdraw this statement. This statement is challenging the spirit and the foundation of East African community. At the same time, it's a violation to the statement and the interpretation of His Excellency President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni about the importance of East African community, why it has to exist as regional integration is concerned. Regional integration is meant to promote citizens' integration, not violence integration. So what UPDF have done against the citizens of South Sudan completely is a violation of the foundation, as I repeat myself, and the principles of the establishment of East African community. So we strongly condemn it, and we demand His Excellency President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni to ensure that his Chief of Staff of Uganda Defense Forces withdraw this statement. This statement is a violation. Otherwise, at my capacity, also as a sitting president of East African Civil Society Organization Forums, we will raise this to be questioned at the level of East African community through our members to East African Legislative Assembly or EALA. And I'm appealing to South Sudan members of East African Legislative Assembly to question the attitudes and the behaviors of the Chief of Staff of Ugandan People's Defense Forces towards South Sudan. South Sudan have the right of self-defense. You may undermine us today, but if we stand up and say enough is enough, let's face an external enemy. You know in history who we are as South Sudanese. Of course, as civil society activists, we promote dialogue, we promote non-violence for resolving any discontented political position. But we can't be undermined and we can't be humiliated by external forces under the pretext that we are East African community. No, East African community was not established for citizens and army of another member state to marginalize and commit atrocities against members of other states. We strongly condemn that, and I hope that the Secretary General of East African community and the current sitting chair of East African community should react to this statement made by the Chief of Staff of Ugandan People's Defense Forces. Is a statement that deserves strong condemnation, not tolerance. And we can't tolerate that. That need to be strongly condemned. And Muhoozi have to withdraw that statement as a Chief of Staff of Ugandan People's Defense Forces. It is undermining the spirit of East Africa. It's disappointing, it's disgusting, and it's a position of someone who does not care about peace and stability in the region. South Sudan will never be a country that you will undermine like what you have undermined other member states of East African community. We will stand up for our rights and we will defend our land. And of course, Peace and stability is our common objective of why we join East African Community. We are not pro-violence, we are pro-peace, but peace shouldn't be on the expenses of atrocities against our own citizens. Thank you very much.